Ờ, ok, let's go. Chúng ta sẽ cùng stream thổi sáo. Ừ, ừ, ừ. Ừ, ừ, ừ. Ok. Nè, 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 nè. Đồ Mỹ si. Mũ này bạn hay nó gỡ ra. Ok, đôi đẩy. Oh yeah, let's go.
Tự học IELTS 7.5, mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo, hoặc đơn giản là mình nghèo cho nên là mình hết tiền. Nhưng mà mình vẫn muốn học IELTS.
Hello and welcome back to this recorder series for beginners. This is lesson 2. If you haven't done the first lesson, I recommend checking that out now. In this lesson, we're going to be learning 2 new notes, C and D. We're also going to play with a jam track and learn a song. Let's review the notes that we know so far. Those are B, A, and G. B is when you cover the notes 0 and 1, so your thumb on the back and the first hole on top here with your left hand. A is when you cover the next hole, number 2, and G is when you cover 3. So you have 0, 1, 2, 3. Now here's a tip that will instantly improve your sound on the recorder. When you're playing notes, the way that we breathe into the recorder is really important. The air as you Let's try that again. I actually overplayed the A a little bit. And when you play notes that way, you should feel like a little clicking sound, the clicking of your tongue. C is when we cover the back with our thumb 0, and we only cover 2 here. So that only with each note. Okay, so let's learn some new notes. Here's the note C. C is when we cover the back with our thumb 0, and we only cover 2 here. So that would be our middle finger on the second hole down. And just be careful to not cover any holes with your right hand down here, because that will sabotage your playing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go up the scale through the notes that we know, starting with G, and we're going to go G, A, B, and then we're going to switch to C like that, okay? So the switch from B to C is a little bit tricky because we have to lift a finger up while we're pushing another one down. So let's try that together. Here's the note G, A, B, and C. Let's try that again, but this time let's play through the notes without me saying the name of the next note. Let's start on G. Here we go. So you can practice that as many times as you want as an exercise, just going up through those notes, G, A, B, C. You can pause the video now if you want and practice doing it several times in a row. Repetition is probably the best tool for getting good at an instrument. And so a long time ago, I created this rule called the Rule of 4, in which when I was learning the guitar, and I would play different scales and riffs and exercises and stuff, I made this rule for myself that if I can play it 4 times in a row without making a mistake, then I've got it. I was playing in a lot of bands at the time, and when you're the guitar player in a band, sometimes you have to play the same thing over and over for a couple minutes. I miss those days. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go down through the notes. So we would start on C, B, A, G. Here we go. Let's start on C. B, A, and G. Let's try that again, starting on C.
If you're wondering how I score top essay marks like these in university, one of my secret weapons...
Got it! Hey, I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate you using my videos for your learning. It means a lot to me to be supported by helpful to reach more people. This type format, just make sure you watch the call before you do the response. Good luck! Just make sure you watch the call before you do the response. Good luck. So one thing that might be happening to you is if you're playing between the notes B and C, where we have to switch between lifting each finger up at the same time, like simultaneously, you can get like not clear like breaks between the notes, like where the note is supposed to start. Like it'll sound like this. So like it kind of, you get this kind of dipping sound. Okay, and so if you want to prevent that, what you do is you just use the method that I taught earlier, where you say the syllable like duh or do. The reason why that's more effective is because you're not continuously blowing air through while you're changing. You're pausing briefly and allowing your finger to change, and then you're breathing after that. So it'll prevent that little like dip in your B and C transition. So I have a music learning book series primarily from a book called Recorder Jams for Kids, but adults could totally use it too. I bet you're wondering when we're going to learn that note D. Here we go. The note D is just like C, but we have to remove our thumb on the back. So here's D. It should sound higher than C. And if you want to practice D, you can play the C and the D back and forth like this, so have your thumb on for C. And then take it off for D. Now you could do that same exercise that we did before where we played G, A, B, C, and then just add D to the end of it if you want. Now we're going to learn to play a new song called Baby Shark. It's a hit with the kids. The notes we're going to play Baby Shark are G, that's all three down here, all four actually, A, and then straight to C, like that. G, A, C. And then when we play the C, we basically play it 7 times in a row to the rhythm of the Baby Shark melody. Let's try that again. G, A, C, 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 C. Now the rest is pretty simple because we just repeat that same sequence 2 more times. So let's do that sequence 3 times total. And then we play C, C, B. Right? C, C, B. You might start running out of breath as well during that sequence, so you might have to take a breath after one of the 3 repeated parts. Let's try it again a little bit slower. Did you get it?
Người nghèo chia sẻ cách tự học IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo. Hoặc đơn giản là mình nghèo cho nên là mình hết tiền. Nhưng mà mình vẫn muốn.
Phần 2 đâu? Phần 2 đâu? Baby shark đu 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 đu. Chill.
Người nghèo chia sẻ cách tự học IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo. Hoặc đơn giản là
In this domestic course, you will learn the essential techniques for sketching industrial product design using
người nghèo chia
analog
sẻ cách
and
tự học
digital.
IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo. Hoặc đơn giản là mình nghèo.
Hello and welcome back to this recorder series for beginners. This is lesson 2. If you haven't done the first lesson, I recommend checking that out now. In this lesson, we're going to be learning 2 new notes.
Người nghèo chia sẻ cách tự học IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo. Hoặc đơn giản là mình nghèo cho nên.
Hello friends and welcome back to this recorder series for beginners. This is lesson number 3. If you haven't seen the first videos in this series, I recommend checking here. Now let's learn the classic song Ode to Joy. It sounds like this.
Cái gì cơ? Đi du học chỉ cần giàu với có tiền là được rồi á. Má, sao mình lại đang thấy có một...
This is a great song to learn because not only do a lot of people know it, it also uses all the notes that we've learned so far. Ode to Joy is made up of two long phrases, and they're basically the exact same thing, except for the last two notes on the end of those two phrases. So what we do is we play this big long melody, and then we have these two notes on the end of it, and then we play the same exact melody, and then we change the end two notes on that second phrase of the melody. If you think about it that way, it seems very simple to learn because you just have to learn one line. The hardest part of the song is probably right off the get-go, because what we're going to do is we're going to be starting on a B, and then going to a C, and then going to a D. So those notes require us to be switching some fingers on the front, swapping here, and then on the back for the D. Let's try learning this in 4-note sequences. So we'll play B, B, C, D for the first part. Here we go. Now we're going to play D, C, B, A. And then G, G, A, B. And then B, A, A. Let's play through this slowly together, and I'll just use the fingerings and the arrows to help you to follow along. And you can use the speed function on YouTube videos. So if you click on the gear at the bottom corner, the 0.7 that I learned from a child. Here's that first phrase again. Hello friends, and welcome. Now the next line of music, or the second phrase of music, is literally the exact same thing except for the last two notes. So it sounds like this. Actually, it's the last three notes that are different now that I think of it. Sorry! So for the second line, we're going to play the same notes, B, B, C, D. And then D, C, B, A. And then G, G, A, B. And then A, G, G. So at the end there, instead of going B, A, we go A, G, G. So here's the second line slowly. If this video is helpful for you, please give it a thumbs up. By the way, guys, I have a book series. If you're interested in learning more, you can check that out here on my Shopify page. So here's the whole song with the notes. Here on my Shopify page. So here's the whole song with the notes. That song was written by the infamous composer Beethoven. He also wrote this famous melody. And that is the bonus riff we're going to learn today, or bonus melody. That's Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. And we actually get to learn a new note at the same time. So here we go. Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. I'm going to give you the fingerings here to help you along, and I'm going to keep this part really short. But what we're going to do is we're going to play B, 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 G, okay, B, 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 G, and then A, F sharp. And F sharp is a new note that requires us to use our right hand, these two fingers, the middle and ring finger, all right, like this. Almost like you're going to give the rock sign, yeah, like that. So we skip this hole right here, and we have this hole here and this hole here. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 are covered. 0, 1, 2, 3, skip 4, 5, 6. And 6 has 2 holes in it, so make sure, or on it, so you make sure that you cover it with the pad of your finger like this, kind of like flat. So B, 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 G, A, F sharp, okay? And you might want to practice F sharp a bunch of times like this. Actually, just try F sharp. You might want to go from G to F sharp like this. And switch a bunch of times because you're going to have to practice doing this over and over again to get the muscle memory. So B, 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 G, A, F sharp.
Người nghèo chia sẻ cách tự học IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo. Hoặc đơn giản là mình nghèo cho nên là mình hết tiền. Nhưng mà mình vẫn muốn học IELTS hiệu quả, dễ dàng.
In this domestic course, you will learn the essential techniques for sketching industrial product design using analog and digital tools. For the final project,
Người nghèo chia sẻ cách tự học IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo. Hoặc đơn giản là mình
Hello, friends, and welcome back to this recorder series for beginners. This is lesson number 3. So what we do is we play this big long melody, and then we have
Bài này khó quá. Tao phải làm được 4 lần perfect. Let's go. Một lần. Tự nhiên cơm no xong dám đi nấu rồi. Thêm một lần nữa, thêm một lần nữa. Yes. Okay. Let's go. Vào.
Hello, everyone.
Ồ, hình như C. Thì ra là như vậy á.
So this lesson will be especially helpful for you if you're wanting to learn how to read music, or you're in school, maybe you're a kid in music class and you're working on reading notes. Or this could be useful for you if you just want to brush up on your reading skills. We'll also be learning the song Mary Had a Little Lamb. The most important thing to understand when learning to read music is that it's the written language of music, and it takes a long time to learn. It's not something that really comes quickly for anyone, so if this lesson seems difficult to you, or if it feels like you're doing a lot of mental work and thinking, that's normal. But I promise you all the hard work will pay off because it is very rewarding to learn to read music. Okay, so for the first part of this video, we won't really need our recorders very much. We're just going to be talking about the written language, so follow along with me. So I'm going to go to this website called musictheory.net, and this website is great for teaching the basics of learning how to read music and just music theory stuff in general. I'm going to go here to lessons. I'm already actually there, but I'm going to click on this, the staff, clefs, and ledger lines. So basically, our music is written on these lines called the staff. There are 5 lines here. From the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, like that, okay? And there are 4 spaces in between the lines. So we're looking at the piano here. Obviously, we're not doing piano, but if you do play piano, this could be helpful. But they always use piano in music theory to explain things because it's kind of like the universal instrument. What they're saying here is that notes can be either written on lines or spaces. And so we see these 2 things called clefs, and this is the one we're going to be using for the recorder. It's called the treble clef, or the G clef, because it, at one point in history, apparently looked like a G, maybe a cursive G or something. Treble clef, bass clef. All right, so we can have our notes written on lines or spaces. This note right here is G, and that's the second line up from the bottom, G. And then on the recorder, that would be the G that we know, with 0, 1, 2, and 3 covered. And then A is on the space right above G, right above the line. So the second space up, that would be this. And then we have B.
Thở khí ra nhiều quá. Để thở lại bình thường nè.
nghèo chia sẻ cách tự học IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo, hoặc đơn giản là mình nghèo cho nên là mình hết tiền.
What's up, guys?
Okay, let's go.
Elbows go to as elbow placement. Elbows did not go straight back. Elbows go to the 45-degree angle. Not straight back, 45-degree. Hop, let's go. Elbows go to the 45-degree angle. Not straight back, 45-degree. Hop, let's go.
Here, which would be 0 and 1. And then as the notes go higher and higher up the staff by step like this, we just go to the next letter in the alphabet. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G as the notes go higher up by step. So one thing that's kind of confusing is that our musical alphabet is the letters A to G. It doesn't go all the way to Z. So it's confusing here because we start on the letter G, but really the alphabet starts on the letter A. It just so happens that they wrote this in this example starting from the letter G. But basically what happens is once you go through all the letters in the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, it starts over again. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and they just keep going up higher. So we'd add lines. So the next note would be an A above that. And so anyway, just know that if you go through the alphabet all the way through, you just come out on the other side with a higher version of G or A or whatever. An octave up is what they say. Something that can really help you to understand notes is having like a landmark note. So basically, let's say we have A here, right? We'll call that our landmark note, all right? So if you memorize that the second space up is A, if you don't know what a note is, like you didn't know this one all the way over here was E, you just think through the alphabet, going from space to line to space to line to space. So A, B, C, D, E. All right, so you can use landmark notes to count up through the alphabet, really good how long you hold a note for. So these are our different note durations, the basic ones. This is a whole note, it gets 4 beats. A half note gets 2 beats. It's like that. It's like 2 half notes would equal 1 whole note because the whole note's 4, and if you divided that into 2 equal parts, it'd be 2 beats each. And then we have a quarter note, which gets 1 beat each. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This has 4 total. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have smaller notes, like eighth notes that have these flags like this, and 2 of those equal a quarter note. So anyway, we're not going to go farther down than that because that's all we need to know for now. Something else that's important are musical rests. Musical rests are silence. So when we don't play, or if we don't play it for like a beat or 2 or a whole measure, we have to write instructions for that with rests. Here's what they look like. These are our different rests. We have whole rest, half rest, quarter rest, eighth, and 16th. So basically these work exactly the same way the other notes do. So a whole rest right here would get 4 beats of rest, just like a whole note. A half rest would get 2 beats, just like a half note. And this squiggly quarter note rest would be 1 beat, just like the quarter notes. Now here comes the mental part, because we're going to start trying to figure out what notes are on the staff. So I'm going to go to exercises here and click on this. What we're going to be figuring out that a lot of good boy does fine. Okay, so E, G, B, D, F. And then if there's a note on the spaces, or a space like here, you use the word face because it rhymes with space. So the spaces would be F, A, C, E. So this note is on the second space up, and if we say face, F, A, that would be an A. Got it. Okay, now we have a line note, all right? So basically, we just need to look at the note and see if it's on a line or a space, and then use those phrases. Every good boy does fine for the lines, and space, face. So this is on a line, so we're going to just say, every good boy, boy starts with B. Here's another line, every good boy does, D. Okay, here's another line, every good, G. All right, every good boy. Okay, so here is a space note, face, we say face, F, A, and we keep getting that A. There's another space one, so we'll say face, F, A, C. There we go, another space, F, A. Here's a line, every good boy does. So you probably get the idea by now. We need to figure out what the note is on the staff first before we can play it. So now the next step would be to just play these notes as they come up as like flashcards, basically. Let's try that. All right, so I got my computer off to the side here, and I'm just gonna trigger some notes. All right, so here's our first note. It is a space, F, A, C. So for us, C is like this. Let's go to our next note. Well, I'll tell it, C. Right. Now this is on a line, so we're going to say every good boy, that's B. Here's our B. All right, let's go to our next note. It's on a line, every good. So here's G. Let's do one more. Line, every good boy. And there you have it. So now we're going to learn to play the song Mary Had a Little Lamb, but we're going to use notes to do it, and we need to first figure out what the notes are before we play it. Now you could just do this on the fly and play note by note as we see them on the screen, but what we're going to do is we're going to just like write the notes in first, just to make it easier for us to learn and play the whole song. So let's take a look at the music here. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of music, okay? And you could probably figure out this song by ear or just using finger diagrams, like way easier, but the point of this is to learn to read music. All right, so let's go through our notes together. Here's the first one. This is on a line, every good boy. So we're gonna write in B. All right, and then next one's on a space, F-A, face. Line, every good, G, space, face, F-A. Now we're on another line here, every good boy. And now we get a couple easy ones because these are just repeats, all right? So this would be B, and then another B. Okay, one thing to note here is that these are all quarter notes, so they're all getting one count, like B, A, G, A, B, B, B. And then the last thing here is a rest. That's how they show it in music class. All right, let's do the next line, space, F, A. And now we see there are 2 more A's here, because these are the same thing. And then we have a rest. And then this is on a line, every good boy. Another line, every good boy does. That's a D. Every good boy does. That was a repeat. And then another rest. Okay, now we're on our third line here. Every good boy, space, face, F-A. Line, every good, space, face, F-A. And now we have another line, every good boy. And now look, there's a repeat. Repeat, and repeat. I'm going to do the last line myself just to make this quicker. Rest, rest, rest. Oh, actually, this is a wrong note. That should be a G. So this should be a G, not an A. Now let's learn to play the song on the recorder. So the first part we see, it says B, A, G, A. Let's try that. Remember to use a lot of. We have to play B, our middle finger down. The next line we're going to play B, A. By the way, guys, I say this games for kids. And then another B. Count like. All right, let's do. I'm going to. So the first rest to make, and then another rest. Okay, now we're on our third. That was a repeat. And then use a lot of support for thumbs for kids. I'll give you 4 counts and then we'll begin. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Người nghèo chia sẻ cách tự học IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo, hoặc đơn giản là mình nghèo cho nên.
Welcome back to this recorder series for Welcome back to this recorder series for beginners. This is lesson number 5. If you've made it this far in this series, I just want to say thank you. You have a lot of dedication and keep going. I believe in you. In this lesson, we're going to learn 2 new notes, and we're going to learn a new song, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and we're even going to learn a bonus song at the end. Just so you know, I have multiple series for beginners and kids. I have one for the ukulele, the guitar, the piano, the drums, and now the recorder. I was thinking about doing one for the banjo next. But please don't ask for the violin because I've tried to learn that instrument and I failed miserably. The first thing we're going to do is just to review all the notes that we already know. And we're going to start from the highest note, D. Okay, so D is when we have the second hole covered and the thumb off like this. And we're just going to work down through the recorder. So the next one would be C, where we put our thumb on. And now we're going to a B. That will be 0 and 1. And then A, we're adding our middle here. And G. In the last video, in the bonus song, we learned a new note, F sharp. That's when we have these 2 fingers down here, like we're going to do the rock sign. All right, so your middle and your ring finger like this. As well as all the holes covered in the left hand. So no pointer finger there, no pinky. Just make sure you're on the right holes. You're not offset or something. All right, let's go back up to that D. Here we go, D. C. B. A. G. And F sharp. Might have to feel around for it a little bit or look. And if you're looking for a little exercise routine, what you can do is just play up and down through the notes that you know so far. You can just play each note once, or you can do each note 3 times or 4 times. For example, we could start all the way at the bottom on the F sharp and play it 3 times. And move up through the notes that we know, G. A. B. Here is, hey, I have 2 notes now. The first one we're going to learn is E. That's when we have all the holes covered with our left hand, so 0, 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to cover 4 and 5 here with our pointer and middle finger down here. All right, so that's going to sound like this. And feel free to pause the video if you need to just work on something at your own speed. You have my permission. But don't leave! Alright, something you can do if you just want to practice getting to the E, switching to E, is playing G first. And then playing E. And just switching back and forth. If you're ever playing and you just start getting weird notes and you can't figure out what's going on, like, and you're like, what the heck? I have them all covered. It usually means that one of them isn't covered. Either that or you're blowing too much. By the way, time that I play more, or favorite one is still the orange one. If this video is helpful for you, please now let's try this jam track to work on our skills. That jam track was from my book, Recorder Jams for Kids. Still the orange one. If this video is helpful for you, please that jam track was check it out here at my shop. We just have our second hole covered here with a thumb off the back, but we're going to be playing a D in a lower octave, and that's when we have every single hole covered except the pinky down here. So 0's covered, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now it's really easy to overplay that note. For example,
Người nghèo chia sẻ cách tự học IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo, hoặc đơn giản là mình nghèo cho nên là mình hết tiền. Nhưng mà mình vẫn muốn học IELTS hiệu quả, dễ dàng, tiết kiệm. May mà lần on TikTok đã giúp mình nhìn thấy mặt trái chân lý này. Nền tảng đã soi sáng cho con đường tu luyện IELTS của mình như thế nào. Tùy level mức
use too much air and it'll go up an octave and it'll sound just like the high D, but a little more harsh. And you can practice playing D by playing G first and then switching back and forth like this, starting on a G. It's called a skip when we play a note in a scale or in the musical alphabet and we do a big jump from one to the next. That usually means we have to move multiple fingers at the same time, so there is more room for error, more room for mistakes. I was teaching a music lesson a couple days ago to one of my students who's in 5th grade, and he's learning the piano, but he came in with his clarinet from band and asked me if I could give him help with it, and I said gladly, because I was a band director at one point and I got a teaching license, so I knew the clarinet a little bit, enough to teach a beginner. Anyway, as we were sitting there practicing the clarinet, I noticed that there were like a million ways for you to play the wrong note, but only one way to play it correctly. So just know that in the beginning when you're learning an instrument, you can have many more mistakes than right notes, and eventually you'll have less and less mistakes and more correct notes. So let's try to find that D again. We'll just play a couple of long notes. See, when you change your air on the D, it really has a big effect on it. Let's do another D. Now let's go to E, which is right next to it. We just lift our ring finger here. Let's go back. That's the low D that we just played. So we're going to go D, D, A, B, B, A, G, G, F sharp, E, E, D. So this is going to be using a lot of right hand stuff. So let's start with the first part, which is to play 2 Ds and then 2 As, all right? So 2 Ds, 2 As. We got a lot of movement here, right? So 2 Ds, which will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everything but the pinky. Here we go, 2 Ds. Now we're going to go to A, which is 0, 1, 2. 2 As, here we go. So let's do that again, D, D, A, A. That little bit. D. I'm not gonna lie, it's a pretty tricky song to play low to play it, because we don't have fingerings, so if end of the octave. I don't have all the extra taught you yet, but don't worry, I'm gonna do some of the notes like the sharps and the flats, which I really haven't taught you yet, but don't worry, I will. Alright, let's try going through that again slowly. D, D, A, A. And then B, B, A. G, G, F sharp, F sharp. E, E, D. Now the next part is a little bit simpler and probably a little easier to play because it doesn't jump around so much. But the next part goes like this. A, G, G, F sharp, E. And then we repeat that. A, G, G, F sharp,
Người nghèo chia sẻ cách tự học IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo. Hoặc đơn giản là mình nghèo cho nên là mình hết tiền. Nhưng mà mình vẫn muốn học IELTS hiệu quả, dễ dàng, tiết kiệm.
E. Let's try that slowly, starting on an A. Do D, D, A, B, B, A. G, G, F sharp, E, E, D. Let's try the whole song now together slowly, starting on a D. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Going to A. Back to A. Now the whole first part again, down to D. But I'm going to give you a little challenge right now if you want to try it with me faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here's that bonus song that I promised to teach you guys that are cool enough to stick around to the end. Shave and a haircut, 2 bits. That's called shave and a haircut, 2 bits. Basically, I guess it meant back in the day you could get a shave and a haircut for 2 bits, which would be a quarter. So to play that, we're going to go G, D, D, E, D, F sharp, G.
Người nghèo chia sẻ cách tự học IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo, hoặc đơn giản là mình nghèo cho nên là mình hết tiền. Nhưng mà mình vẫn muốn học IELTS hiệu quả, dễ dàng, tiết kiệm. May mà Learn on TikTok đã giúp mình. Người nghèo chia sẻ cách tự học IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo, hoặc đơn giản là mình nghèo cho nên là mình hết tiền. Nhưng mà mình vẫn muốn học IELTS hiệu quả, dễ dàng, tiết kiệm. May mà Learn on TikTok đã giúp mình tìm thấy mặt trái chân lý này. Nền tảng đã soi sáng cho con đường tu luyện IELTS của mình như thế nào. Vì lao vào mất gốc thay vì lao vào tìm hiểu IELTS là gì thì
Hello and welcome back to this recorder series for beginners. This is video number 6. If you haven't seen the first videos in this series, I recommend doing that now. And if you've made it this far in the series, you are remarkable, you're a genius, you have dedication, and you're a little bit crazy like me. In this lesson, we're going to learn the song Happy Birthday. We're also going to learn a new note, and I'm even going to give you a bonus song at the end. Let's start by learning our new note. We're going to learn a low C, and that's when we have all the holes covered on the recorder. Now, I will just say, it's a little bit cruel to try and play that note right off the bat without warming up or anything, because it takes a little bit of finesse to get it to sound right. But we already know a high C, so maybe we can play that first. That's a bonus song at the end. Let's start by learning. We're going to learn the song Happy Birthday. We're also going to learn a new note, and I'm even going to give you a bonus song at the end. Let's start by learning our new note. We're going to learn a low C, and that's when we have all the holes covered on the recorder. Now, I will just say, it's a little bit cruel to try and play that note right off the bat without warming up or anything, because it takes a little bit of finesse to get it to sound right. But we already know a high C, so maybe we can play that first. That's when we have 0 and 2 covered like this. And we usually start our notes by saying the syllable ta.
In this domestic course, you will learn the essential techniques for sketching industrial product design using analog and digital tools. For a final project, we will ideate and sketch an object of your choice. We will begin by familiarizing ourselves with the product we will be working on and defining the design principles it needs to follow.
But what's interesting is when we use that same technique on lower notes, like the low C, it'll actually make it harder to play the note. You'll hear that sound. It actually sounds kind of cool, but that's not what we're going for. So when you play a low C and the lower notes in general, don't use the syllable ta, just breathe straight into it, a soft, gentle air. I recommend trying to start the note as soft as possible and like forcing yourself to restrict the amount of air that comes out. It's kind of like trying to breathe out really slowly. So to get those lower notes to come out, you kind of have to coax them. So you might have to give it a couple tries. Let's try the C again, the low C. So if you can't get that note, maybe start by playing a G and start working down the scale like we normally do. So playing G, F sharp, E, D, and then C. And C has two holes just like D, so make sure you're covering both holes and use the pad of your fingers, like lay them flat like this. You can also put a little bit more pressure when you're squeezing here just to make sure you got them covered. Now if you want, you can compare your low C to a high C. As you can hear, they sound similar because they're both C's. It's just that one is one octave lower. It's confusing to people why it's called an octave, and oct, it means 8. And basically it means when you play through an entire scale of notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and when you get to 8, it's the same note as number 1. So C, if that was the first one, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. You've probably heard me say this many times, but I have a book for learning the recorder. You can find it here on Shopify. I also have several other series for learning different instruments. I have one for the C, so check that out, recorder skills with them. Happy Birthday is actually a little bit tricky because we start on a low D, okay? And we're gonna play 4 lines of music. So basically, we have to learn 4 different musical phrases. The first phrase goes like this: D, D, E, D, G, F sharp. All right, let's try those notes slowly together. D, D. Squeaked a little bit. Let's try it again. Remember, just use soft, gentle air and like restrict the amount of air that comes out. And then we're going to play E, D.
Người nghèo chia sẻ cách tự học IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo, hoặc đơn giản là mình.
So D, D, E, D. Then we play G, F sharp. The next line is D, D, E, D, A, G. Very similar to the first line, it's just that the last 2 notes are different. The third line is the trickiest because we play D, D, and then we go to a high D, okay? That's going to be a big jump because we have almost all of our fingers down, and then we have to go to high D, which is just our middle, right? To play a high D, we have to support it with our right thumb, our middle finger here on the hole 2, and our mouth. So let's try 2 low Ds and a high D. The next part of the third line is B, G, F sharp, E. And the fourth line is C, C, B, G, A, G. Let's go through one line at a time. D, D, E, D, G, F sharp. F sharp. One line at a time. D, D, E, D, G, F sharp. G, F sharp. Second line, D, D, E, D, A, G. Third line, D, 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 B, G, F sharp, E. Last line, C, C, B, G, A, G. A, G. now here's that bonus song. Hey, why the switch to the camera? We want to play our B, B, A, B, B, A, B. Happy birthday is
Này lỗi lỗi nhạc ấy. Ủa cái này nó giống thổi sáo không? Nó cũng giống thổi sáo, cũng dễ hơn thổi sáo nhiều luôn. Biết nốt là bấm được hết rồi. Còn nốt nào nữa không? Đó, bịch cái đó nữa. Này mấy hồi ví dụ mua cái cây này học cho lại cho khỏe, cây này học khỏe hơn cái thổi sáo. Ủa nó có hai tự tâm không? Thường là sáo nó tới 3 tông rồi. Này thấp này. Đó là 3 tông đó. Này thổi này nó nhẹ nhàng. Nó dùng hơi nhẹ thôi, không cần dùng hơi nặng. Tùy lưỡi. Nó có nhiều lỗ vậy. Quá nhiều lỗ. Ủa, cái thả này cái lỗ dưới này là hết luôn rồi. Ba mò nốt rồi. Thật ra cái này khó hơn là thổi sáo. Do không quen thôi. Yeah, you're the first one. That's right. You are the first one. Yeah. Cái này nó bị xuống dòng, cái nốt nó bị xuống dòng khó chịu ta. Shut up.
But I have my phone here. The notes A, B, B, A, B, B, A, G.
Thế này, một buổi học IELTS trong bạn nào mất gốc hoàn toàn nha.
Và mấy chủ đề cơ bản trong cuộc sống hàng ngày luôn, được vựng phân loại 4 lần liền.
Oh my god, anh Hai đã đến với mức immediate rồi.
Người nghèo chia sẻ cách tự học IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo. Hoặc đơn giản là mình nghèo cho nên là mình hết tiền. Nhưng mà mình vẫn muốn học IELTS hiệu quả, dễ dàng, tiết kiệm. May mà lần on TikTok đã giúp mình nhìn thấy mặt trái chân lý này. Nền tảng đã...
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this intermediate. We're also going to be everybody. I couldn't have playing only with the left hand, and we're going to be working up our scale. We're going to do the notes G, A, B, C, D, and a high E. That high E.
Nhận ra anh Hai cầm 6 người với ông kia. Ông kia là cầm bên tay này, là cầm ở dưới. Tay trái là cầm ở trên, anh Hai cầm ngược lại. Anh Hai tay phải cầm ở trên, trái cầm ở dưới. Thôi kệ đi, không sao.
There is a new note.
Căn bản là ông này ông cầm ngược tay lại với mi cầm ngược tay với ông.
If you're coming from the last series.
Mi cầm ngược tay với ổng gì?
So let's start by playing the note G. That's 0, 1, 2.
In this Domestico course, you will learn the essential techniques for sketching industrial product design using analog and digital tools.
And then going to an A. Out the hole in the back. G. A. Your breath. Into this G, I'll try to change it on purpose with my breathing.
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my tasks. I start by brain dumping everything I need to get done.
Note feels a little bit differently on the recorder. They take different amounts of air. For example, that high E takes a lot of air. With the thumb removed. We're going to do the notes G, A, B, C, D, and a high E. That high E there is a new note if you're coming from the last series. So let's start by playing the note G. That's 0, 1, 2, 3 here. And then going to an A. B. C.
Ha. Tối gì? Sao không thổi được? Có gì đâu. Tối sao không thổi được? Miễn sao chưa ngủ được thì thổi đi.
D, removing the hole in the back, 0. And the number over 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the thumb removed. I don't know know about you guys, but whenever I go from a low note to a high note, my eyebrows go up. It's like instinctual or something. So let's go through that sequence of notes again. G, A, D, C, B, A, error. You might find yourself adjusting where they no error. In fact, if you try to use a lot of air on a low note, it'll not work out for you. I guarantee it. So this is why practice really helps. The more you practice, you'll learn that each of the notes takes a little bit different amount of air. And the recorder you're playing on does make a huge difference. I have like 10 recorders. Most of them are like super cheap, between like $5 and $15. And sometimes when I'm playing on one of them, I just can't get a note to come out. I have no idea why. I mean, it's probably my fault, but if the recorder is like $6, then there could be some problems with it. Quality control. But I will say the difference between the cheap plastic recorder and like a professional wood recorder is that the low notes are a lot easier to play on this. So something to think about. If you've made it to the intermediate series, maybe it's time for an upgrade. So now let's practice going up and then down through that exercise. What we'll do is we'll go up through the notes up to the top from G to high E, and then we'll come back down. So for example, A, B, B, B. Let's try that now.
Người nghèo chia sẻ cách tự học IELTS 7.5. Mình luôn trong tình trạng hết tiền, thế nên mình nghèo, hoặc đơn giản là mình nghèo.
Hết tiền.
Back. Now let's try playing along with a jam track. I should say.
Ông đâu có chỉ cái nút đó đâu ta, nút đó là hết kìa. Thôi mệt quá, chắc nghỉ thôi. Khổ kiền quá lâu rồi.